This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Diz and Hers, the show about what's happening in the Disney community from his, hers, and your perspective. I'm Eric.
And I'm Lauren. And this week on Diz and Hers, Disney is having a moment. The Muppets pull in a big demo rating, which we're going to talk about. Wonder Man becomes a quiet hit. And Bob and Josh made a pretty symbolic park appearance. And DCA, it's DCA's birthday. They turned 25. So ratings, streaming, leadership, and the parks. So I think let's get into it.
Well, yeah, and it all starts with a show a lot of people didn't expect to be kind of the rating story of this week, but that's the Muppets. So if you've seen that the Muppets, it debuted on February 4th with a special that was, simulcast on ABC and on Disney+. Is that sound right?
Yeah, this was their 50th anniversary special. There was a lot of hype leading up to it. I don't know if it was because of the Muppets or because Sabrina Carpenter was the special guest. And if people aren't familiar with the actual Muppets show, what is it and how long has it been since we've had one?
Geez, I think this is a good question for Jim Hill, but I'll do my best to see if we can do it. So the Muppet Show came out in the 70s with Jim Henson. It was, I believe, started on the Saturday Night Live little skit and branched its way into being its own half an hour, maybe an hour long format. It's like a variety show. And since then, you've seen movies and all types of specials, and Disney acquired them quite some time ago and have tried many times to reboot, but this is kind of the original that most of us kind of Disney adults and the general Muppet fans remember. This variety show, the official Muppet Show, which had Kermit as the host and different acts and musical guests and celebrities. So this was a throwback that was put together and rumored for quite some time, and I believe Seth Rogen was the individual that kind of was executive producing this.
Yeah, he got Muppets out the door, so maybe we'll get Figment. Fingers crossed. Seth Rogen, if you're listening. But the real story wasn't that the Muppets came back with the Muppet Show. What we're talking about is the pretty significant rating success that the show had in a ideal demographic. So looking at this may not matter to you, but the show did 3.1 million viewers and posted a 0.52 in the 18 to 49 demographic. So what you need to know is that was the highest show of the night.
Yeah, so Lauren, this is kind of your expertise and specialty. I know about ratings enough, but I really don't pay too much attention. So a 3.1 million viewers. Now, this was on ABC. This doesn't count any Disney Plus action. We don't have anything available to us. But is that good?
Actually, yeah. It's average for a multi-part series. But I think everybody was excited to see these numbers because if it did well enough, we're anticipating there could be more. And they even cracked a joke during the show that I guess we're going to see how this goes. So 18 to 49 demographic is important if anybody's trying to from an advertiser perspective, they want to pull in younger folks. And I think that's probably why it was simulcast also on Disney Plus, so that they could have the ratings information for advertisers, because they're not really getting a tremendous amount more money when they're putting things exclusively on Disney Plus. But In a nutshell, ratings are just the percentage of people in a demographic or all the viewers watching at a specific time. So we're recording the show on the day of the Super Bowl. And so using that as context, when I worked, at the TV station, at times for all viewers, they were reaching about like 75% of the U.S. population that had their TVs on. And then if you break it down into the specifics, like we are looking at 18 to 49 for the Muppets. Super Bowl is doing significantly more still than the Muppets. But if we're looking for things that are running now, like that night we had Abbott Elementary and they're averaging 2.6 million. Even Grey's Anatomy, it's doing about 2.2 million. So like I said, it's in the realm of normal, but it did do 3 times more viewership than the finale of The Golden Bachelor. So I chalk it up as a huge success from a broadcast perspective.
Yeah, and I was looking online and I grabbed a tweet here from TuneHive, and one of the things it says the special is also trending #1 on Disney Plus in 59 different countries. So like there's a lot of stuff on Disney Plus, so that's not too bad. But one thing that I was interested in, and a lot of people are asking, is what's the odds of them getting picked up? This was a one-off. It was a special. Is there a chance that they get picked up? And I went searching online, and I hope you can help kind of explain some of this. So I figured the best thing to compare against would be fall's premieres. So I kind of pulled some of the information out, and it shows that, like, for instance, Boston Blue, which was a new show, or at least premiered, had 4.73 million views. Do you think, compared to like the fall lineup, do you think that they're looking at and say, hey, maybe the Muppets could get picked up?
It really depends. Like, could this have been, this was an anniversary special. They did have a headliner with Sabrina Carpenter. But, I mean, if you're looking at just the averages, it's certainly possible to get more. And I will say, I don't know what it is right now. If it is the Muppets are just top of mind for people. We've talked a lot about the Muppets recently, but this was the best performing Muppets special that has been released in years.
Yeah, and there's been many of those. I remember watching the Haunted Mansion one that came out on Disney Plus, and then there's been, there was plenty of reboots over the years that I don't remember what it was back in ABC when they did the Office version of the Muppets. But times have changed tremendously, so it's really difficult to compare something 10 years ago, probably even 5 years ago, to now, and we have so much, I guess, gray area with streaming, but we can go based off what fans were saying. So I don't know about you, but my feed was lit up with the Muppets for the entire week. And Wesley Bout on Twitter said it kind of perfectly. My entire feed on every app is just nonstop Muppet talk. The world hasn't felt this beautiful in a long time. And for a Muppet fan, that's true, right? And then there was a gentleman named Jonathan Cohn, which I thought this was funny. He said, I used "Who is your favorite Muppet" as an icebreaker in 2 meetings today, and everyone always nods approving of every answer. 10 out of 10 questions. So you don't get to do that too often, now do you? I mean, Muppets aren't on the daily conversation for most, but this week it has.
I mean, which is totally fine. Like, for me, I wish more people would come to meetings and ask, who's your favorite Muppet? Because
who is your favorite Muppet? Do you have one?
Oh my gosh, it has to be Miss Piggy. Like, she's just everything all wrapped into one. I love her.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well,
you seem like a Kermie guy.
No, I think I like Animal. He's a drummer. Just that goes well. So there's a little bit in me there. But you're speaking of Miss Piggy. Another nice tweet here from Ryan W.M. Mead basically was asking for, they're saying that Disney and ABC are leaving money on the table by not making the Muppet Show a weekly series and making each song available after air. The number of people on social who want to stream Man-Child with the chicken backup vocals and Islands in the Stream cover speak volumes. And that was Miss Piggy and Sabrina doing Islands in the Stream. Well, it was Kermit at first, but that's the thing. Do you think this was a Sabrina Carpenter lift, or do you think there really are that many? I mean, do we see the younger crowd going over and watching? Do you think that's maybe one reason why we have so much the ratings?
Well, I mean, I think Sabrina Carpenter is, clearly still very hot. Our daughter Lainey went to see her in concert, and the tickets, I think, were like $400 each. So she's a hot commodity right now. I would not doubt that there was a significant Sabrina Carpenter bump. And I think that them choosing her to lead with was strategic. Like, I mean, Disney covers all of their bases. Like, they're trying to set whatever they're doing up for success. So it doesn't surprise me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that having a notable pop culture star is what they did back in the day. Well, the funny thing is that Georgia Cooley said on Twitter as well, one thing that needs to happen, if they do a successful reboot, they cannot pre-record the whole season months out and then drop the episodes all at once. She feels it needs to feel like a fresh new act every week and tap into the current cultural pulse in a way that feels ongoing. So I kind of can agree to that. It
agree.
does kind of feel like an SNL.
Saturday Night Live, I was gonna say, can you imagine Saturday Night Live filming an entire season at one time?
Yeah, that would just be tough. So I think that's what makes the Muppets work, because they were small little skits. Sabrina is top of mind and all over the place. So like it made sense. It was very relevant. And I don't think it was, as you said, I don't think it was just like Sabrina Carpenter fans jumping out there. When you head over to Rotten Tomatoes, 98% score on the tomato meter, which is the critics. There was 45 reviews, so the critics loved it. And then a 98 also on the popcorn meter, which is 500 plus ratings. So like everybody was all about this. You and I got to watch it. I thought it was entertaining. I don't know. I think it would very well depend on who they bring each week. If it's going to be one of those things where you must watch TV, I think it could be good background television, and I think it would do really well from a YouTube perspective, where they have the skits kind of like how SNL is now, where there are some skits that hit and they could certainly put it out that way as a show and then kind of splice it up. But one thing, as I always do, I wanted to see, once again, we are in a Disney vacuum and bubble often. So I don't know if my timeline was just Muppets or if there were a whole bunch of people. So I went over and looked at Google Trends, and indeed, over the last 5 years, this is the highest that the Muppets and the Muppet Show has ever ranked. It is a 100 scale overall. And then I broke it down by states, and it looked like Maine and New Hampshire. So Jim is not alone.
Jim's carrying the map.
He's carrying it. Those were the highest searched, and those that were really going all in Muppets. But then I also threw Sabrina Carpenter in the mix just to see, did she help out the Muppets? Obviously, I don't think the Muppets necessarily helped her out. She probably got some street cred from the older individuals that like the Muppets, and they're like, who's this Sabrina Carpenter? She's cool in our books now. But from a Google standpoint, she is still very much more searched and relevant than the Muppets. So there definitely should have been a bump that people are probably introduced to the Muppets that wouldn't have watched, that decided to kind of see what Sabrina's up to.
Yeah, no, I think the data speaks volumes there, but I have to ask, who do you want to see as the next host to keep this positive momentum going?
Me, I mean, I have my favorite. I would love to see Weird Al, but I don't know if he's going to necessarily have that same bump. I think he'd be great with the Muppets, but someone like Paul Rudd, I think would be great. What about you, Lauren? Do you have anyone suggested?
Yeah, so I have two that I think could be really good. One, I think Jack Black, because he's just a good time and talk about entertaining. But I don't know if you'd get the Sabrina bump with Jack Black, but someone who I think could deliver the Sabrina bump. And no, I'm not going to say Taylor Swift. I feel like that's a cop out. But what about Lin-Manuel Miranda?
He'd be amazing. So I mean, that and if that happens, then Weird Al can definitely do a run-in, because I know that Lynn is a huge fan of Weird Al, so he doesn't have to have his own show, but I would love to see Weird Al interact with Muppets.
And then we'll put Jack Black and Paul Rudd together, because they're hilarious too.
There you go. They just had their movie. Yeah, so we want to hear from you guys. Who do you think should be the host if they get picked up, or if they have another special? Who would you like to see the host of The Muppet Show? Let us know in the comments and shoot us your messages, and we are very excited to hear. And hopefully the numbers speak for themselves, and Disney decides that The Muppet should be a thing.
What about Josh D'Amaro? I mean, new CEO. Do you think we get like a D'Amaro bump?
I don't know if we'd get a D'Amaro bump, but I do think that it'd be interesting. I think he'd be game for it because he was also game to actually show up in Disneyland this week. Did you see the news that Bob and Josh were hanging out at the park?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I'm on like TikTok and like the TikTok crowd, they just know how to make it hit. And I don't know, did you ever hear that song? It's like Daddy's home.
Yeah.
And so every time that I hear about the story of the two of them being in the park, it's like Bob Iger like quickly walks by and then it's Josh like walking in slow motion. So yes, that was also blowing up my TikTok feed.
Yeah, it was all over the place. So they must have headed to the park just a couple days ago. I saw pictures everywhere. We all know that Josh is going to become the new CEO, I think March 18th. So this was I guess, walk around, a public showing of support. I think Bob even was like, hey, there's no better place to go to congratulate Josh than at Disneyland.
Oh my gosh, I just have to say though, I told you we're recording this on the day of the Super Bowl. Like when they announced that he was the CEO, do you think they said, Josh, what are you going to do now that you're CEO? And he's like, I'm going to Disneyland.
See, they should have done it that way. That would have been so much better and creative.
Like the timing's perfect.
They could have bought a 30-second commercial, spent $10 million and announced that way. I think we would have all been pumped. But not everybody is pumped, of course, because I go to Disneyland on Reddit to see what people were talking about the day that he was there. It's a little Reddit called Bob Iger and Josh D'Amaro here today, and these are live discussions. So I thought it was pretty funny and interesting to see what people were actually saying. So there was 112 upvotes, 50 comments on this, and this is just brand new. And the Penster says probably looking at what perks they can take away before raising prices again, which is not necessarily
Penster.
Somebody comments admission to the park, $200. The rides are extra. And then, of course, Mean Median says bring back the ticket booklets and leave admission at $200, which, early birds remember that you had to pay to get in and then pay to do the rides. We do not want to see that happen again, but Reddit wasn't being so kind. Did you see any comments that you liked?
I think that, there's some funny ones, but these are all kind of like burns. Did you see the one that was Simple Cripple? It was like, Simba, everything the light touches in your kingdom, it's yours.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. And then the comment was, except that dark land. That's the Shadowland now. You must never go there. The elders used to call it Tomorrowland.
Aww.
Yeah, and then somebody else commented,
Tomorrowland.
Yeah, and said they would walk right past Tomorrowland, especially the rotting people mover track, pretending they didn't see any of it. So
I think they could just do a whole rebrand, and it's not Tomorrowland, it's Tomorrowland. Let him do what he wants.
Lots of puns this week with D'Amaro. I saw lots of stories.
Oh my gosh, I cannot help myself.
Yeah, there's all types of puns, but I do. Guy Selga, I think he's affiliated with Touring Plans, had a nice tweet here. Well, I wouldn't say nice. I think it's a realistic that I think we all would want this experience to happen, because I doubt they walked in normal. I think they probably got shuttled in the back and so forth. But Guy basically said, I wish these two would try experience parking and entering the parks in the morning like a normal guest. Would they think it's a good first impression taking an hour to even get into the parking structure, plus all the time it takes to park and get through security? So yeah, I mean, granted, I pulled a decent amount of information here that's a little critical. We've given Josh a lot of love, and a lot of people have given him love. But at the end of the day, yeah, there's still some elements that I think they probably should recognize how the general public feels about the parks. It's not just walking around and getting on a ride, without waiting or having to fork out money from a lightning lane. So we will see. But Lauren, I have to ask you, and I'm going to ask everybody else. Josh is in the park hanging out with Bob, and he's going to take over soon and basically be able to make all the calls and not have to pass it up the ladder here. What do you think the first thing you would want him to do in Disneyland or Walt Disney World or any of the parks?
Well, to me, I'd be fixing the lightning lane. Like, I think that it's kind of silly at the price point and what you're paying for it, and that you're still kind of waiting sometimes up to like 20 minutes to get on the rides. And that them revert. I don't know. I still kind of feel like some of the lines are manufactured at times to just be like moving people around the park, which goes back to the experience that you're having. and you pay that amount of money. So with the price going up, the value has to feel like it's going up. So I think that's something that I would like Josh to look at.
There's a lot of things that I think we could address, whether it be park reservations or pricing and so forth. But we want to hear from you. What do you guys think that Josh should tackle? What would make his first round of business a huge success? We want to know from you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still too soon to tell if Josh is going to be the Wonder Man for the parks and come and save the day. But after the break, we're going to be discussing Disney's sleeper hit, Wonder Man, that you may or may not have heard of. So stay with us.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
And welcome back. So far, February has been pretty hot on Disney Plus with the Muppet Show, but we also had the sleeper hit that Marvel came out with kind of out of nowhere, right, Lauren?
Yes, so Wonder Man. The critics say that it's a hit. And I don't know about you, Eric. I mean, did you hear anything about this at all before you saw it pop up on Disney Plus?
I knew of it months ago, kind of like they talked about it. I had no idea what the premise of the show. I mean, I am a Marvel fan, but I'm not like a Marvel comic fan. Like I can't say that I know all of these stories. I have some books and you know, when I was young, I read the comics, but that's Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. So Wonder Man was not on my radar. No idea what it was. And I felt like I wanted to watch it primarily because when you produce a Marvel show like Marvel Us Disney with Dan and Jim, you don't want to be spoiled. So I'm like, I have to watch this before they talk about it. And that's happened a lot. And I'm like, all right, we're going to reluctantly watch this show that they did not put any type of publicity into. And then we binge watched it all in one evening.
Yeah, I mean, from like my perspective, like I am just now getting into the Marvel universe. If you listen to any of our other shows, you may have heard, but I didn't watch my first Marvel movie until last winter. And now we're watching them like in the order that they're kind of happening. And what was the last one we just watched?
We just watched
besides
Guardians
Loki.
3. Yeah.
Oh, we watched Thor, Love and Thunder. We watched, then we watched Loki. And so we finished Loki and we're like, okay, well, what's kind of next? And you're like, oh, let's watch this. And I was just kind of like, because I don't know anything about the comics, but we binge watched it in one night. And I mean, I was not alone in thinking that this was a great standalone show. Like my mom, who hasn't watched a bunch of Marvel shows, like I think anybody could watch it and really enjoy it, kind of like WandaVision. But it debuted with 90% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, is that like amazing?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get anything, you know, really above 80 probably, because, you know, there's always your hot takes and so forth. But I think that the fact that nobody was really talking about it and that Disney kind of just quietly threw this out there was interesting. And it's not a widely known character. That's the other thing, is most of the characters that they put out, even like a thing like She-Hulk, I mean, we knew kind of who she was in a sense, but like Wonder Man is just a weird little niche character that we all kind of came out and it didn't have like crossover. The only, you know, Trevor Slattery was, you know, the Mandarin was in this and he had a couple roles. So like Ben Kingsley is obviously a big deal. So that's great that he was in it, but it wasn't enough to be like, oh, we're going to give him his own show. But truthfully, I think the acting in this show was amazing. And I think you brought up, because you've been following at least the portion, the spending, is that this seemed low budget in a sense. And that's maybe one of the reasons why, I don't know, we didn't hear about it or this is slightly different than everything else we've watched.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm always looking at the marketing push, behind Disney's products. I mean, because they're, master marketers with this stuff. But I do think that we're at a time in history, especially with streaming and the profitability. It's really important that they figured out that model. And I think on I Want That Too, we reported from the last earnings call that, streaming is in the black. And I mean, Bob Iger was able to turn that business around. So when you're looking at the cost of production, you just have to be cognizant of that. And I know that some of the Marvel movies, I mean, were obviously astronomical. And as I was watching this, there are projects that the acting is so good that you don't need a lot of the CGI. You don't need a lot of like different locations and, complex shooting. Like this to me seemed, I mean, it was still like a wonderfully produced show, but the acting carried it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they built on character development as opposed to lots of fighting. I mean, we went multiple episodes, it seemed like, before there were any type of action scenes. And then the action scenes weren't even that elaborate. And not to spoil, anything, but like I was like tickled pink with the way it ended. I just felt you went up and down and you kind of liked and disliked characters throughout. And the fun thing was that the episodes they're kind of short, right? We were like, they might be saying they're 40 minutes, but there's like 7 minutes of credits, and if you skip the intro, it's like 25 minutes of actual action, and they moved really, really quick. And there was a great story arc. There was like I think episode 3 is when we're really still questioning what the heck happened with Josh Gad. I hope he's okay.
I was gonna say, friend of the network, Josh Gad. I mean, if you wanna see the voice of Olaf, he's definitely makes an appearance. And he's great in
but it goes up and down. And the thing is, you go over to IMDb, it's still, and this is about maybe 2 weeks out, it's number 3 in popularity out of everything. It's huge, like right now. So people are catching. I don't tweet too often. I tweet enough, but when I was done, I tweeted that this was a sleeper show and I really enjoyed it because I was like, I want them to get a season 2. And good news is I just checked on yahoo.com that they're very close. Marvel Studios reporting very close to greenlighting season 2 of Wonder Man. So that is super amazing. But we really don't know.
It would be a total shocker. I mean, you asked me right when it was done if I thought there was going to be a season 2. And I was like, I don't know what the production cost was for that show, but if they could get those actors to come back, there's no reason there wouldn't be.
Yeah, and I would love to see him in Doomsday or so forth. But the one thing that we don't know is we can't, like, it's not like the Muppets. We have no ratings. We can't speculate. So you and I, since you've kind of jumped into the Marvel world, we found a YouTuber that tends to give us like the breakdowns, and we like to watch the reviews and speculation. So, Lauren, you're very familiar with Screen Crush videos, but over on YouTube has 1.86 million subscribers. And I'm like, we don't have real data, but I did watch 3 Wonder Man videos from that network, and I was like, all right, can we do some loosey-goosey math here to see maybe what people are like the perspective of, are more people watching Wonder Man videos, or are they watching other things on this network, Screen Crush? Because you can kind of compare apples to apples. So one thing that I did want to pull out is that I went through and reviewed probably about the last 3 weeks worth of videos. And there were a lot of videos on the channel about Fallout or Game of Thrones or Dragon Ball Z or Star Wars, and even more Marvel. And so higher like known entities and brands and IPs. And our boy Wonder Man, our show, is competing. For the most part, these videos that are out on Screen Crushes is averaging about 200,000 total views, given the circumstance, and they're on pace with these other big notch brands. So it's not just a niche community. Like, the people out there are indeed watching Wonder Man content, which is a good sign, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think it's a great sign. I also think that it was a pretty strategic move from Disney's perspective to have this kind of, not well-known character to continue to add on to the character. So I'm wondering if people were watching those Screen Rant videos too for the context.
Yeah, maybe, possibly. So, I mean, I want to ask you guys, did you watch Wonder Man? Did you like Wonder Man? Would you like to see Wonder Man 2 come out? Have we found Josh Gad yet? So those are the questions that I have. But one place you might have found Josh is, or if he might be hanging out there, is at DCA, because there seems to be a big crowd and there's all types of people there. Lauren, did you see the crowds and some of the hooplas for Disney California Adventure this week?
Listen, I mean, they were not going crazy because it's the 25th anniversary of DCA. They were going crazy for that popcorn bucket. If you didn't listen to I Want That Too, it's even kind of hard to like describe this popcorn bucket situation that they have going on there. But I think that's what was bringing the crowds in, right?
Yeah, there was a lot. I mean, so today, officially on the 8th, is the actual 25th anniversary. So you'll see lots of people posting. I don't know if there was anything official. I found a nice little post from Disney Dave on Facebook that kind of gives you the whole rundown. But this park opened, in 2001? So it's now 25 years. And I mean, there are still some of the actual original items there, like Soarin' Over California and the Grizzly River Run, that are still there, but there's still remnants. But yeah, you're right. Everybody that was kind of in the park, I found some screenshots from Twitter yesterday, and they were crowded. It was real. The one that made me laugh is Jeff Gordon said 2001 California Adventure, wouldn't believe how crowded 2026 California Adventure is today, which, they had a little bit of a rocky start for anybody that's paid attention. But there is a giant line. There was a giant line for the popcorn bucket. The virtual queue actually sold out. And the popcorn bucket, if you don't know what it is, definitely listen to this week's I Want That Too. Jim talks about the Ferris wheel pretty extensively.
Yeah,
and how it came
even
about.
the history of that sky wheel. But the spoiler alert, I mean, that is what the popcorn bucket is based off of. And there's, smart technology within it. So the buckets move and it lights up, and you get your popcorn out of the back, because originally I was like, how in the world is anybody eating popcorn out of this? I mean, if you are looking for like a conversation starter or a really epic like Disney decoration, even for your house, like this is just so much more than a popcorn bucket. But it is priced in the same way that all of the other popcorn buckets were. So we know that the pre-sale or the queue sold out. I mean, I'm looking at some of these pictures here. Eric, do you want to tell people what's going on?
Well, the fun thing is, I found several of them online where it says the merch pirate strikes again, stocking up on popcorn buckets. So if you haven't paid any attention, that when something like this comes out, there are people that go and they basically buy as many as they can, and they head over to eBay, which, all based on your opinion, if that's a good, bad thing. Disney probably doesn't care because they haven't stopped it, because they're getting their money one way or the other. But there's some viral pictures going around with giant tote bags just filled with these bad boys. Lauren, I know you guys have talked about this before, but like, what's your stance and or opinions or inside knowledge of like, can they stop this? Will they stop this? Does it even matter? Or are we just going to complain online?
Well, I definitely think we're always going to complain online because it's part of the fun part, right? But I do think that Disney is cracking down on resellers, but they're doing it slowly and deliberately. Like we talked about the return policies happening at things like the Character Warehouse, Property Control, to try to slow this down a bit. I know that in Disneyland specifically, they've put limits on certain items within the shops. I don't know that those limits have been applied to like the carts and things. But do I think that it's a great practice to let a select amount of people come and stock up and then leave, nothing for the regular park guests that maybe just want one to take home for them or their family. We had, one of Eric's coworkers just went to the Disney Marathon and, paid big bucks to participate, and they couldn't get any of the merch. And so I know that this is a big area for Disney to try to strike the balance, because I mean, at the end of the day, they're paying they're buying the merch, merch, that's all Disney wants. Like, they don't want to have to hold on to this stuff or take it to the character warehouse or outlets or whatever. So I think that they're trying to strike the balance.
Yeah. So I headed over to eBay to see what we got. We're a couple days in, and the high one right now, most of them are averaging about $120 on eBay. So these are normally $55 unless you buy it they're $50 unless you buy it in that weird spot. That's $55, and that's because of a weird county line tax. I saw that online the other day. That was fun fact. But yeah, the highest I see right now is $179.99 online. So it is all the same type of pictures. People they bought it, they put it in front of the Pixar Pier area, took their picture, and they were selling it on eBay. So yeah, we would love to hear from you guys. How do you think we fix this problem? Is this the problem that Josh should fix right off the get-go? Would this be a big enough win? Or is it even a problem? Do you even care? Do you think it's better that, hey, we can just go buy it on eBay as opposed to make our way all the way to the park and do that? But we'd love to hear what your thoughts.
Wait and see, and maybe it will happen today, but maybe tomorrow.
There you go. Again, keep the puns coming. All right. Well, I think that does it for this show's week and this episode of Diz and Hers. Of course, if for more, you can always go to dizandhers.com, where you'll find articles, episodes, and updates. And as Lauren loves to say, if Disney is your vibe, be sure to subscribe.
No, if Disney is your vibe, hit subscribe.
There you go.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
anyways.
I'll say what I like to say. And remember, watch what you post online. You might end up in next week's episode. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.